This is Rob Carbone, and you're listening to BD4.
Here's Barrett, some shake and bake, hits a three. That's eyes in the crowd with Barrett. 5 on the 24. Barrett previously in the air ball. The drive, the layup, backs it home. Gets it back, keeps it out there. Barrett for three. RJ Barrett from downtown. He quick trigger three. Gets another triple. Looking for more. Smith to the buzzer. Now it's good. J.R. Smith from way downtown at the buzzer. No back, good open look. Puts it in. They're on their feet at Madison Square Garden. Elliott to Ewing. That'll make the Garden war.
Patrick Ewing faced a double team, but still was able to hit.
Finish. And the foul. Houston comes under. Got it. 1:8 left.
What is going on, guys? This is Rob Carbone coming at you with another episode of BD4. Episode 149 of the podcast tonight. It is gotta check again because I never know the date anymore. Saturday, August 22nd, late night. I do apologize. We're in the studio, so I'm pretty sure you can't hear it, but it's late night and there are crickets in the background. I don't know if you can hear the cricket noises, but apologies for that. Hope everybody's doing well. It's sports are back. Yanks are back, but they're obviously taking a few days off due to the to COVID and everything. I guess a couple of New York Mets had the virus, so the Yankees haven't played in a few days, and they're not going to be able to play Sunday and I think Monday either because, I don't know, was it a 3-game series? But they'll be back this upcoming week. Excuse me. And I think they take on the Braves. Braves? Yeah, I think it's the Atlanta Braves. And I'm trying to think if it's... I wanted to say Phillies, but I already think they play them twice. Yeah. I want to say Braves. I got to check, but they play the Braves this week, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, the Knicks. That's what we're doing tonight. We're giving a little bit of an update, since it's been a little bit since we've talked Knicks. Let's talk Knicks because some things have went down recently. Obviously the Tom Thibodeau hiring a few weeks ago. And then, with this fucking, a couple of days ago, more recently, the NBA draft lottery happened. Oh, man. And for the 35th, I think it was the 35th year in a row, the New York Knicks did not receive a number one pick. At least, no, I'm trying. I mean, it sucks. It's difficult. It is difficult. I don't know why it is. It's incredible. So we're gonna talk about that though in a little bit. Got the Knicks to talk about, Thibodeau, the draft lottery, and where to go from here. And then we're going to, I think that's actually it. We're going to dive into the NYK question of the day afterwards, but just a short episode tonight. Nothing really huge to talk about. Just going to give a couple of my takes on what's been going on. So we're going to head to break, and as soon as we get back, we'll get right to it. All right. Hey guys, really quick, I just want to remind you that if you go to my website at nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com, you can find me on social media. You can find the links to my podcast and my blog. So that's all you got to do. Just go to my website, go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com, and there will be a page that displays all of my information. All right, guys, thank you. Let's get back to the show. It's like every year this shit happens. At least like last year we got RJ Barrett out of the number 3 spot. I know everybody wanted Zion, everybody wanted fucking Ja Morant, both of those fellas, but we ended up getting Barrett. At least that was a solid pick. He has the ability, I think, RJ, to eventually become an all-star type of player. But he is a project. But this year, man, I guess the silver linings you could put to it, were that there was no standout star in this class, that was guaranteed to be successful immediately upon entrance, like Zion would or Ja Morant would. That's one of the silver linings, I guess. But it's hard to get on board with a lot of this. I really wanted a LaMelo Ball. I wanted Anthony Edwards, if not maybe. Those two guys are not gonna fall back. So I get it. I get all these silver linings. I get all these little narratives we're trying to create to not, hurt ourselves. I understand it. The Knicks would have drafted the wrong guy anyway. That's one of those bullshit media narratives that's already being thrown out there, following that LOL Knicks line. They wouldn't develop them properly anyway, no matter who they got in the first pick, in the first round, first pick or eighth pick. I understand it, whatever. That's some bullshit I don't really pay attention to, but I also get this, there have been some great teams, that have been built without top 3 picks. That's also one of the silver linings that Knicks fans are throwing around too. You look at this year, more recently, Toronto, they just won the title last year, without a lottery pick. You look, and they're in the playoffs again tonight, this year, hunting for a title. Milwaukee, same thing. They're also in the hunt without a top 8 pick, in their starting 5. Same can be said for LAC. The Denver Nuggets, outside of Jamal Murray, I don't think they've got a top 8 in that lineup. There are some teams who are succeeding or relatively succeeding, when you compare them to the Knicks, that don't need those top. I get all of that. I do. Not the deepest class. I get that. On the flip side, the 76ers have a barrage of top picks over the last couple of years. They've been getting loads of them, and they're always exiting early in the playoffs. I get it, but it just frustrates me, man, because you just want the Knicks to break that unlucky, whatever you want to call it, streak. You want everything to fucking... You want it to pan out for once. You want to get that number 1 pick. LaMelo Ball, I know he has his question marks, but I think he would have been a great fit, as a playmaking point guard with the ability to shoot. That's exactly what the New York Knicks need, and he was the standout guy in this class. Anthony Edwards, electric, athleticism, who could have brought some electricity to Madison Square Garden, throwing down tomahawks and playing a good, combo wing, whatever you want to call him. Also a good playmaker. Man, it sucks, one of the other silver linings, I guess, is that the Knicks are all about cap space and financial flexibility nowadays. So, with the 8th pick, I guess you have more cap room than, if you were to go and get a guy at the number 1 pick. If there were, if the draft lotto was in their favor and they got that number 1, that's obviously a more expensive pick, but it is what it is. We have number 8 now, and we're gonna have to hope that this new player development team that Leon Rose has assembled, that they are good enough to potentially handle another project, because there's a good chance we're gonna get a project here. Bye-bye to Ball, bye-bye to Edwards. I don't buy this trading up dream or trading for a star. I think that's unrealistic. I think the cost is extremely high if the Knicks were to do that, so I don't think that's happening. It would probably cost, a Mitchell Robinson, a future first round pick, the LAC pick, and then some assets. It would cost a whole bunch, and I don't know if I would do it personally either. You know, I wouldn't just gut my roster or my assets for somebody like Ball, who does have a high reward but also a very high risk. In a class like this, it's not that worth it. As for trading for a star, again, you're gonna have to gut your roster if you're gonna do something like that. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would do that, but again, don't think that's realistic to begin with. But man, is this shit rigged, man? This is why I hate tanking, because you never know with this fucking lotto. You never know how they work it. They don't show you the ping pong shit. They just show you that stupid fuck holding up the sign like an idiot. So it's difficult to have to sit here and never know how this whole thing is actually shaping up in behind the scenes. You're wondering if it is rigged. 35 years is a long friggin' time, guys. 35 years. I'm what, 25? I mean, that's, dude, 1985? That's a long time. You do have to start thinking, what the hell is going on here? 30 fucking 5 years. Oh, man. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't know. So you got to start thinking now. We're dropping to 8. Does Leon Rose look for players that fit now? Or does he try to get players that are the most talented available still? And again, I think dropping to 8 at this point, you may as well just look for fit. Because all the talent around this pick, number 8, is going to be similar. I think. So I'm thinking Leon Rose is going to look for players that fit. I know the Knicks like a certain amount of individuals. I've heard there's a lot of complementary players in this draft. And I know the Knicks like certain ones. I've heard them looking at RJ Hampton. I don't like him. I don't love him. I don't. I've heard Isaac Okoro. People are talking about him being a young Kawhi. A lot of defense. The offense isn't really developed yet. I don't know if I love that for number 1 pick for our first round pick. Our first round pick. There's also players that are available, if they wanted to trade up with that second pick they have this first round. You could look at Kira Lewis Jr. I don't know if he's worth taking 8th. Or I'm sorry, Kyra Lewis Jr. But Devin, what was it? Devin Vassell, another player you could take a look at here in this first round. He might be available with that second pick if they trade up. I don't think he will be available 8 either. I mean, I do think he'll be available. I'm sorry. I don't think Devin Vassell or Kyra Lewis will be worth taking at number 8. I think there are more players I would rather try to trade up with that second pick and maybe get around 15 or something. But that's going to be difficult. But players that are falling at number 8, I would think, again, Okoro. I have trouble announcing so many of these players' names. Okoro, RJ Hampton, Tyrese Halliburton, who, a great efficient shooter who I think is going to have an impact right away. That's a player I wouldn't hate. I just don't see the star potential in him, but he's a guy who could probably impact the NBA right away. I think Tyrese is a good player. Now, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of their Cole Anthony. That's another guy I wanted to talk about because Cole Anthony has had an interesting, NBA fans have an interesting outlook on him. You hear a lot of good things, and then you hear a lot of bad things. He had a very erratic, very inconsistent, not so great season this past year at UNC. But there is some of that potential you can see him flash. He's got that quickness, right? He's got the ability to shake and shoot off the dribble. He's got some of that shot creating, playmaking potential. And he's a good finisher around the rim. The jump shot, a lot of the misses are due to questionable shot selection with Cole Anthony, but he's a guy who I actually would not mind taking at number 8. Does he fall that far? And there's a chance he does, being that his season again wasn't so great this past year at North Carolina. Now Roy Williams didn't have the best squad, in terms of talent, so he had a tough time, being that only guy on UNC who could do much. He had to carry a lot of the burden. So maybe take that into account of his struggles, and of course he had the injury, but Cole Anthony is another name that you should take a look at. Now, there are 3 more big names here. I'm sorry, 2 more big names here that I am really, really hoping fall to number 8. I just don't see that happening. But if they did, boy, would I take them in a heartbeat. And those 2 names, Obi Toppin and Killian Hayes. Now, I did a bunch of scouting reports on a bunch of these pre-draft prospects a couple months ago, and Toppin and Hayes were 2, at the top of my list for the Knicks first-round pick, their first-round pick. So, if we're lucky enough to where we do get Toppin and Hayes falling to number 8, I'll take it. As for Toppin, again, if you didn't check out the scouting report I did on him, be sure to do that. I elaborate a lot on him. But he's a guy who is, a power forward. He's a 4-5, but he could stretch the floor, and he's athletic to where he throws down explosive dunks on the inside, great on the break. But again, he occasionally stretches the floor, and I think pairing him and Mitch, as a 4-5 tandem would be huge. It would give the Knicks a lot more floor spacing that Julius Randle does not provide. Randle doesn't give you that fucking spacing at all. And yet you replace him or you play Toppin more next to Mitchell Robinson, I think that will only improve Mitch's game as well. To give a floor spacer out, to put a floor spacer out there like Toppin, and somebody who can move around too, athletic enough to play on the elbow and in. So Toppin's an option I like, athletic, shooting big, but Killian Hayes, that kid from France. Point guard. This is your point guard. This is your playmaker that you're getting. So you're getting that fit, right? This is that fit I was talking about. But he's also, potentially has some talent here too. He's a talented kid. But I think he's going to be a big project. From what I remember, he's very good in pick and roll. He's got great vision. And in terms of his scoring, he's good. I think the 3-ball needs a little bit of work. He's had some good and bad seasons. I think his scoring right now is getting to the rim. But yeah, Killian Hayes, Obi Toppin, 2 guys I really hope fall to number 8. If they do, those are the guys I want. So let's just hope and see. I hope they do. I just don't know if they will. But it's going to be different. We've still got a couple months before this draft is. I don't even know if the draft has a date yet. I know the free agency pool doesn't really become official until November. But, it's going to be difficult, considering the circumstances here for Leon Rose. Everything's going to have to be fucking limited. This whole COVID scouting thing is going to, change a lot of things. You've got virtual combines, you've got virtual interviews now, virtual everything. Everything's limited, everything's pushed back or canceled. So Leon Rose is going to have to, rely on his team a lot more than you normally would in your typical off season. So I don't know, man. I just hope it ends up, good. But again, they do have some flexibility here in this draft. They've got that first round pick at 8, but then they've got the 27th and then the 35th, I want to say, or 38th in the next round. So, with that second pick, again, if you want to trade down for or trade up for guys like Lewis or Vassell, you could do that. But there are also some enticing options, some maybe high risk, somewhat high reward options and Jalen Stick Smith, guy I love, and Nico Mannion, another big playmaker. I scouted all these guys too that I'm about to list, so be sure to check those episodes out on my website. Jaden McDaniels, the young KD, people were referring him to as. Marcus Howard, scoring machine. That's the small kid, if I can remember. Grant Riller, sharpshooter. Sadiq Bey from Villanova, good stretch big. And then Aaron Naismith, another sharpshooter. So those are probably some guys the Knicks, don't be surprised if they do draft one of those names with their second first round pick or with their 38th pick that comes later in the draft. So, I wouldn't mind any of those. I really wouldn't. The Knicks doing any of that would be big to me. I think, I would accept that in a heartbeat. But I think that's it. I don't have too much input on this whole thing. I just wish we didn't get number 8, but it is what it is. Again, the draft pool isn't that talented, so it's not as painful as last year was, even though we did get a solid player in Barrett. I just hope we don't fuck this up somehow. Take a player that has talent, take a player that fits, whatever the fuck it is. I just hope the guy works out in the end. All right. I'm going to save my judgment for when this guy takes the court, whoever it may be, and plays basketball. That's all I want to see. If it works out, man, it works out. If it doesn't, it's just your typical Knicks. But I don't know, man. I hope it does. I hope we get the right pick this year, man. And it's painful too. You watch all these fucking guys. You're watching this NBA playoffs fucking right now. Canada, Toronto in the playoffs. You got the Denver Nuggets. You've got all these teams from previous years who were really bad before. The 76ers. I know they're about to go home again, but all these teams who we've seen be bad, terrible. But now they're in the playoffs. They worked their way out of it. And here are the Knicks still struggling to work their way out, right? It's frustrating, man. It's really fucking frustrating. And so, speaking of, I do want to see if there has been there is a finish to this Lakers game. It's over. 116-108. Wow. They won. Thank God. I was going to put money on Portland. I don't know why, but I was going to, and thank God I didn't. So Lakers took the victory. Oh, Houston lost in OT. See, that's another one I was glad I didn't. Wow. Glad I didn't put money on. Fucking OKC. Are they still without Russell Westbrook? The Rockets? Let's see. Yeah, it looks like they are. Harden poured in 38 points. Well, he missed a lot of free throws. Wow. All right, so that's wow. Yeah, Milwaukee keeps winning. The Heat, I'm glad the Heat are winning. I really, that's my tell you, the Miami Heat, I think that's going to be my I think it's going to be my trying to get to the right screen here. Miami Heat, I think the Miami Heat are going to be my sleeper pick. I really do. I think, so I think in the very end, the favorites from each side, my favorites, I think the Clippers are the best team in the West, and I think the Bucks might be the best team in the East. I think those two might clash in the finals. But, if I were to pick two sleeper picks from each conference, aside from the favorites, my two sleepers, I'd probably go with Miami from the East because I love Miami's defense. I love how Jimmy Butler brings that fire. Oh, that's so cool. They've got... Oh, no, they don't. I thought they had a separate bubble standings, but they don't. If you're listening to the podcast on NBA.com at the moment, trying to look at the playoff bracket, but here it is. As I was saying, you've got Miami. I think Miami's your sleeper from the Eastern Conference, just because I love the way they play. I just love the fashion. I love the passion that Jimmy Butler brings. I love the just the style of play. They can hit the three. Gordon Dragic hits a shit ton of threes. They got that fucking white kid, Duncan Robinson, who just does nothing but launch threes and hit them. Kelly Olynyk, who's always hitting threes, a big stretch five, who's been in the league a while, got that experience. They've got fucking, who's the other kid I'm missing? Tyler Hero. They've got a good squad over there who look hungry. And then you don't ever underestimate Eric Spoelstra. Great coach, always wins. So that's the squad from the East that I'm looking at. Don't sleep on them. And now from the West, I really love the way Utah is playing. The Utah Jazz have been dominating when they win these games. They just dominated Denver the other day. And that's one of the games I struck big on with DraftKings. But Utah looks good. I love Gobert. Great rim protecting center. And I'm hoping that if they can be successful this season, Utah, that somebody like Rudy Gobert brings back the old school center, right? The rim running, shot blocking, defensive minded big. That really seems to be a lost art in today's game. So I really want them, Utah from the Western Conference, to make a run. That would be really interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it, in terms of this playoff bracket. In terms of the Knicks, we've discussed all we need to know tonight. So we might as well take another break, and then we'll get to the MYY NYK question of the day. All right, be right back. Hey guys, really quick, I just want to remind you that if you go to my website at nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com, you can find me on social media. You can find the links to my podcast and my blog. So that's all you got to do. Just go to my website, go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com, and there will be a page that displays all of my information. All right, guys, thank you. Let's get back to the show. All right, so let's get to the MYY NYK question of the day. So last time out in episode 148 of the podcast, I asked you what was Jorge Posada's season high in home runs? Okay, so this is a Yankees question, being that we had a Yankees show last time out. Jorge Posada, what was his season high for homers in a season? What was his best homers? Fucking can't talk. What was Jorge Posada's season high for homers? All right, so give me that answer. I told you to give me the answer. And the answer to that question, if you did not know, is 2003. He hit 30 home runs. All right, so he hit 30 home runs in 2003. That was the answer to last question, which was in episode 148. Now tonight's NYY NYK question of the day. Right there on the screen if you're watching the podcast, but if you're listening, it is how many points per game did Patrick Ewing give the Knicks? All right, so he played for the Knicks in all but 2 of his seasons. How many points per game? You don't have to be specific. You don't have to get the decimal. Just get the whole number. How many points per game did Patrick Ewing give the Knicks during his career? All right, so fitting question, being that was the last number 1 draft pick the Knicks had. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Always appreciate it, here on BD4, episode 149 of the podcast. 149. Knicks get nicked. I mean, it's honestly, I think we had that title before, but we could probably have it for every time we talk about this joke of a franchise. James Dolan. So yeah, same shit, guys. It's another year goes by where maybe some people got their hopes up and let down in the end, but I'm at a point where I'm just used to being let down. I never get my hopes up anymore. So I don't know. Hopefully Thibodeau can do his thing. I know he's a solid coach, or he's had success before. He's won, everywhere. He's won for a fucking majority of his time out there. I know he had some issues there in the end with Minnesota, but listen, he's gotten some good, he has some good fucking seasons under his belt. He's gotten some players to really develop. He's known as a defensive minded coach, an old school guy who doesn't take shit. So I do like that. My concern with Tibbs is I just hope he doesn't become a guy who I just hope he doesn't become a coach who relies on our veterans way too much, because that has been the issue over the last several seasons with, the coaches we've had, the many coaches we've had in New York. It was an issue with Hornacek. It was an issue with David Fizdale. Mike Miller, it was an issue there as well. So I think it's more of a front office thing. So hopefully Leon Rose kind of reassembling this FO here. Steve Mills gone, a bunch of other guys fired, and Steve Stout now rebranding everything. Hopefully we can get a new front office. It looks like we've gotten a lot of new guys. So hopefully that kind of takes its impact and we get some real legitimate rebuilding going on here, right? Because we are the non-rebuilding rebuilders is what I like to call the Knicks. They don't do it correctly. So hopefully Thibodeau can change things, because I know he's always been cultured as a guy who's gonna run his veterans out there. So that scares me a ton, because that was the number one thing I hated about these previous Knicks coaches. So I'm hoping the regime is going to change here and the Knicks can fucking do the right thing. But not a great past couple of nights if you're a New York Knickerbocker fan with this draft news, but it is what it is. Can't dwell on it forever. Just going to have to get used to it. And, I'm numb to the pain. So guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Episode 149 of the podcast tonight. And I think that's all we've got for you guys. So thank you for stopping by on episode 149. If you haven't yet, once again, be sure to listen, watch, and subscribe to BD4 on all the different platforms we have. We are on, Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on Google, SoundCloud, YouTube, many more. Just go to my website, nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. That'll take you to a page that displays all my information. So guys, thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you in episode 150, which should be out this week after the Yankees play the Braves. If all goes as planned, I will likely have the same two guests I had on the show last time the Yanks played the Braves. So that'll be fun. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode 149, and I will see you next time. This is your host, Rob Carbone, signing out. All right, ciao. This podcast is sponsored by Anchor.